Page 63 of this book, The Untold Story of Cameroon's Reunification. So many persons are still not very clear with the process of the reunification. That is from 1955 to 1961. It started with, did it start with the plebiscite?
No, the 1955
to 1961.
1955. Two major events took place in 1955.
Okay.
One was the creation of the Cameroon National Democratic Party, the KNDP, with the political platform of secession from Nigeria and ultimate reunification. I emphasize ultimate reunification. And the second major event was what? The UN visiting mission visited the territory in 1955. So between 1955 to 1961, there were three major political currents in the territory. Independence in association with Nigeria, independence by reunifying with the French Cameroon, and independence as a separate state. And where Cameroonians have been told many things that at times I ask myself if we are sincere. Dr. EML in Delhi and NNBLA of the KNC-KPP alliance wanted independence in association with Nigeria. John Ngoh wanted independence by reunifying with French Cameroon. At one time, the fronts and chiefs, this is where Cameroonians get everything mixed up. At one time, the fronts and chiefs wanted Southern Cameroon to achieve independence as a separate state. And that's why Font Achirimbi II, in 1956, it was not in 1959, at the Chiefs Conference in 1956, said we want neither water nor fire, which means we want neither independence in association with Nigeria or independence by reunifying with French Cameroon. They wanted independence as a separate state. We are talking of 1956. But between 1956 and 1959, that position by the Fronts and Chiefs themselves abandoned that position. I say this with two examples. In the London Constitutional Conference of 1957, Von Gallagher II went to the conference as a member of the KNC-KPP alliance. And it should be recalled that the KNC-KPP alliance stood for independence in association with Nigeria, which means that Von Gallagher II was in line with the political platform of the KNC-KPP alliance. John Ngoh led the KNDP party. And the KNDP party was what? Independence, secession from Nigeria, and ultimate reunification. When they got to London, Von Gallagher II sent a telegram to Von Achirimbi requesting him to gather all the fronts and chiefs to support the KNDP position, which in effect means that Von Gallagher II abandoned the KNC-KPP position in favor of the KNDP position. To the extent that when the delegations returned to Southern Cameroons, Dr. EML in Delhi decided to replace Von Gallagher II as far as the resumed London Constitutional Conference of 1958 was concerned, because Von Gallagher II was no longer speaking the language of the KNC-KPP alliance. So the position of the Front and Chiefs, which they held in 1956, changed in 1957. Subsequently, at the Plebiscite Conference of monthly Plebiscite Conference of August 1958, when Achilles reminded the participants that the Front and Chiefs had said we want neither water nor fire. Most Cameroon historians think that that statement was made in 1958. For Achilles II was merely referring or reminding the participants what the Front and Chiefs had said in 1956. And in that same 1958, there was the 4th UN visiting mission. And there was no request for independence as a separate state. This should be made very clear. There was no request for independence, no sustained request for independence as a separate state. And in addition, to tell you that independence as a separate state at that time was not popular, was not very popular, unlike what after 1972 and more especially after 1984, Anglophones are trying to give the impression that the most popular option was independence as a separate state. It should be pointed out that in February 1959, PM Calais founded the Cameroon United Party. And this was the first political party that came out strongly, forcefully, in favor of independence as a separate state. Unfortunately, he had no support. This should be very clear. He had no support. So when Anglophones are saying that third option was the most popular, why is it that Calais, who was a political giant in Southern Cameroon politics in his own right, came out with his party for independence as a separate state? He did not have a reasonable following.
Okay. From what I get from you, how would you compare the chiefs? Because one would imagine that the chiefs at the time were so powerful compared with what we have today.
Definitely. The voters at the time more or less followed the directives of the chiefs and funds. The funds and chiefs were powerful. And most often, they did not directly identify with a particular political party. They were not militants, card-carrying militants, unlike what we have nowadays.
In the book written, The Untold Story of Cameroon's Reunification, there is a part that talks about the organization conduct of the plebiscite. The plebiscite was organized by who? And
the plebiscite was organized by the UN. It was a UN organized plebiscite. And the two questions were, you want to achieve independence by joining Nigeria, or you want to achieve independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon? And as I've said it, the campaigns of the KNDP were well done, well oiled, and the KNDP was able to get most of the funds and chiefs. Most of the funds and chiefs. And of course, the KNDP had the financial support of President Amadou Ahidjo and of the reunification forces in the Republic of Cameroon. Reunification forces led by Paul Sopor Priso. And although the KNC, KPP, which later on became the CPNC, had financial support from the Action Group, the financial support came very late and played little or no part in the campaign. So the position of the KNDP won and won heavily, and although Anglophones are still trying to see that was not the option. The third option was, what they wanted was independence as a separate state, and they tend to say the UN did not apply Article 76B. I would like to refresh the memory of Cameroonians and Anglophones especially. Article 76B called on the administrating authority to administer, in this instance, the people of Southern Cameroon towards self-government or independence, depending on the circumstances and the expressed wishes of the people. That's the complete. So most historians, Cameroon historians, just cite just part of Article 76B. Says and minister the people towards self-government or independence. Why did the UN come up with a plebiscite and or whatnot? The complete Article 76B says administer the people towards self-government or independence according to the circumstances and the express wishes of the people. And how do you get the express wishes of the people? By a plebiscite.
Okay. Now, by the plebiscite, the people voted.
You see, a plebiscite is a political mechanism. And in any democracy, sovereignty lies with the people. In this particular instance, when Southern Cameroons opted to achieve independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon,